You already know what an elephant looks like. You've seen them in documentaries, ears flapping in the heat, in zoos, gently taking food from a trainer's hand. Maybe in a viral video, a baby elephant playing in the mud while its mother watches nearby, patient and calm. You think you understand them. Gentle giants, wise, emotional. The animal kingdom's grandparents, slow-moving, family-oriented, the picture of peaceful strength. That image is real. And it is also exactly why the elephant is one of the most dangerous large animals a person can encounter. Because here is what most people are never told. Elephants are responsible for hundreds of confirmed human deaths every year, with some researchers estimating the true global total may approach 1,000 once underreported cases across Africa and Asia are included. They possess memory that researchers describe as exceptional even by mammalian standards. The documented ability to distinguish between groups of people based on past experience and grief behavior, so sustained and specific that scientists studying it remain genuinely unsure how far to take the comparison to human mourning. This is not a contradiction of the gentle giant. It is the other half of the same animal. And it is the half almost nobody talks about. To understand why an elephant is capable of this, you first need to understand the scale you're actually dealing with. An adult African bush elephant can weigh up to 6,000 kilograms and stand over 3 meters at the shoulder, the largest land animal alive today. It can run, in short bursts, at speeds exceeding 25 kilometers per hour, fast enough to outrun an adult human over almost any reasonable distance. Its trunk alone contains tens of thousands of individual muscles, giving it the strength to uproot a tree and the precision to pick up a single blade of grass in the same limb. None of this by itself makes the elephant remarkable among large animals. Rhinos are large. Hippos are large. What makes the elephant different, what makes it genuinely unlike almost any other animal humans regularly encounter, is what's running the body. Elephants have the largest brain of any land animal, weighing up to 5 kilograms, with a particularly developed temporal lobe, the brain region most associated with memory in mammals. Researchers studying elephant cognition consistently describe their long-term memory as exceptional, even among large-brained mammals, and a significant portion of documented elephant behavior appears to be organized around exactly that capacity. The phrase "elephants never forget" did not come from nowhere. It came from decades of field observation that researchers have since investigated formally, in ways that are genuinely striking once you understand what's actually being remembered. Elephants can recognize individual humans, and in some documented cases, distinguish between broader categories of people based on past group-level experience. This is a documented capacity to extract and apply socially relevant information, distinguishing categories of potential threat based on accumulated experience, not simply reacting to any unfamiliar sound. It's one of the most carefully controlled pieces of evidence that elephants form lasting structured associations between humans and risk. Beyond these population-level studies, researchers and park rangers working across multiple countries have also reported individual elephants reacting differently to specific people they'd previously encountered. Though this kind of one-to-one anecdotal account is harder to verify formally than the controlled Amboseli research, and scientists studying elephant cognition are generally cautious about how much individual recognition weight to put on it. This memory becomes most striking when it's tied to grief, and the documented evidence here is some of the most discussed in all of behavioral science. Elephants engage in behavior around their dead that researchers have studied for decades and still describe with real caution, precisely because of how closely some of it resembles human mourning. They have been observed standing near and touching the bodies of dead herd members, sometimes for extended periods. They investigate the bones and tusks of deceased elephants, including elephants they were not related to, in a manner distinct from how they interact with other objects or remains in their environment. Some matriarchs have been documented revisiting sites associated with a herd member's death. Researchers studying these behaviors are careful to note that we cannot directly confirm an internal emotional state in the way we can describe a human's grief, and the scientific community remains divided on exactly how to interpret it. What is well documented is the behavior itself, distinctive, repeated, and focused specifically on the dead in ways that go beyond simple curiosity. In regions where elephant deaths are caused by poaching, culling, or vehicle strikes, conservation researchers and wildlife officials in parts of India and several African countries have reported anecdotal observations of surviving elephants or herds becoming more defensive or aggressive in the surrounding area for a period afterward. This pattern shows up often enough in field reports to be taken seriously by people who study human-elephant conflict, but it remains primarily observational and is genuinely difficult to disentangle from the more straightforward explanation that elephants experiencing any kind of stress, fear, or disruption to their herd structure become more defensive of their space, regardless of whether the underlying cognitive process resembles human retaliation in any precise sense. The mechanics of an elephant attack, once an encounter turns dangerous, are almost incomprehensibly mismatched against an unarmed human being. An elephant's trunk can deliver a blow with enough force to break bone or throw an adult human several meters. Its tusks, which can exceed 2 meters in length in large bulls, are capable of inflicting severe goring injuries. And in numerous forensic and field accounts from India and parts of Africa, researchers and medical examiners have documented elephants returning to trample a victim's body multiple times after the person was already down. A pattern that goes beyond what's needed to simply remove an immediate threat, and one that field researchers have flagged as worth further study, even as they remain cautious about attributing deliberate intent to it. In several elephant range regions of India, wildlife officials have documented cases where an elephant or herd appeared to move past multiple bystanders toward a specific individual during a conflict, though establishing after the fact whether that individual had a documented prior history with that specific animal is difficult, and these cases are typically described by researchers as suggestive rather than conclusive. Whether any of this reflects something we could fairly call premeditated revenge, in the way humans define that term, remains genuinely unresolved among the scientists who study it. What's well established is the underlying capability: an animal with exceptional memory, real grief responses, and immense physical power, encountering humans under increasingly stressful and crowded conditions. The numbers across elephant range countries make clear this is not a rare or fringe phenomenon, even setting aside any debate about intent. In India, government data reported to Parliament has tied elephants to over 1,500 human deaths across a roughly 5-year span in the past decade, and annual death tolls in individual high-conflict states like Odisha have exceeded 140 to 150 in recent years. India's Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has reported deaths rising from 549 in 2021 to 2022 to 605 in 2022 to 2023, and further to 629 in 2023 to 2024, with Sri Lanka separately reporting around 176 deaths in 2024. Taken together, these two countries alone account for well over 700 confirmed deaths a year, and researchers studying global wildlife mortality data suggest the true worldwide figure, once Africa and the rest of South and Southeast Asia are included, could plausibly approach 1,000 deaths annually, though this remains an estimate with real uncertainty attached to it. As elephant habitat continues to shrink under agricultural expansion and deforestation, elephants and humans are forced into the same narrowing space, and an animal capable of remembering specific threats for years, mourning its dead for an extended period, and reacting to both with considerable physical force, is increasingly forced to do so in close proximity to the species most responsible for that shrinking space in the first place. Here is what is true, and what the evidence actually supports, holding both halves at once. The elephant is not malicious in any simple sense. It is not a predator hunting humans for food. The vast majority of elephants, across the vast majority of their long lives, never harm a human being. The gentle giant is not a myth. It is the accurate description of how most elephants spend most of their existence. But that same animal carries a memory that outperforms most other large mammals, a capacity for sustained mourning behavior that researchers are still working to fully characterize, and, under the pressure of shrinking habitat and rising conflict, a documented, repeated pattern of escalating aggression toward humans in the areas where that conflict is worst. This is not a flaw in the elephant. It is a consequence of exactly the qualities we admire most in it: the intelligence, the social bonds, the emotional depth that makes elephant family structures so compelling to study in the first place. We built the image of the gentle giant because most of the time, that image is accurate. We rarely mention the rest, because the rest requires admitting something uncomfortable. Under enough pressure, the animal with the longest memory on land does not simply forget what happened to it. And it has nearly 6 decades of life, a 5-kilogram brain, and 6,000 kilograms of raw physical power, carrying that memory with it the entire way.